Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So I wanted to talk about this story out of Virginia about a group of middle school girls who did what we've been saying that women need to do this whole time. They refused to compete against a male athlete. Every time I do a story about transgender athletes in women's sports, comment after comment says, why don't the women refuse? Why are the women going along with this? Why are they competing with transgender athletes? Well, these middle school girls were brave enough to say no. These middle school girls, 13-year-olds, basically setting the example for all of us. And I commend them greatly. They've done what a lot of people, unfortunately, are afraid to do because of intimidation, because of everything that's at stake. Now, you may be thinking that West Virginia has banned transgender athletes. So why was this person allowed to compete? This is track and field. Why was this person allowed to compete? Well, the decision to ban this particular athlete was taken to the appeals court and they won. Apparently this person has been transitioning from 3rd grade, which to me is absolutely heartbreaking. But because this person transitioned from 3rd grade and basically is avoiding male puberty, they are allowing the person to compete.
We're following a breaking news alert now. A federal appeals court has overturned a West Virginia transgender sports ban. Allie Lynch is at the WKRN.com alert desk to explain.
Monica, that's right. The ruling blocks a West Virginia law banning transgender girls from playing on girls' sports teams. The court found the law violates Title IX. The court said the law cannot be applied to a 13-year-old girl who has been taking puberty-blocking medication and identified as a girl since she was in the 3rd grade. The court ruled in favor of the American Civil Liberties Union.
And what's interesting about that case is the appeal court said that this person is allowed to play in the girls category, but the girls themselves said no. And what's come out recently about Title IX, some changes have been made. Under the Biden administration, they have made the changes that they wanted to make to Title IX. It finally happened. And it's very, very disappointing to hear the news that identity has been included.
New this morning, the Biden administration expanding Title IX protections. Title IX prohibits discrimination based on gender. Well, for LGBTQ and pregnant students now included under Title IX, the new rule requiring schools to protect students from all sex discrimination, including childbirth and terminating or recovering from a pregnancy. It also prohibits discrimination based on sexual orientation, gender identity, and sex characteristics in federally funded education programs. The Biden administration is also expanding the definition of sexual harassment. These new rules, we're told, take effect August 1st.
President Biden rolling out new Title IX rules with more protections to LGBT students, but he avoids addressing transgender athletes. Our next guest says the new regulation threatens decades of advancement for women. You know her well. Outkick contributor and former NCAA swimmer Riley Gaines joins us now. Riley, I read the administration's explanation for these Title IX revisions, and it confounded me. Here's what Miguel Cardona had the audacity to say. These final regulations build on the legacy of Title IX by clarifying that all our nation's students can access schools that are safe, welcoming, and respect their rights. So according to the Biden administration, pushing women out of women's sports builds on the legacy of Title IX? I mean, help me understand.
Exactly. That's exactly what they're saying. They're saying all are welcome except for women. This is the most asinine, really, I would say the most anti-woman, anti-reality pursuit we have seen from this administration thus far. It is something that not only abolishes women's sports as we know it, this would allow men in women's locker rooms, bathrooms, changing spaces. This would potentially allow men to be housed in dorm rooms with women. And this would compel our speech. Students and faculty would be required to use preferred pronouns. And if we don't, or if you, a 17-year-old girl who's randomly housed with a male in your dorm room, if this is something you go to your administration and express your discomfort with, under these new Title IX, this new proposal, this new rewrite, you would be guilty and charged with sexual harassment. Not the man parading around your locker room. No, to President Biden, that's considered brave. That's considered inspiring and stunning and whatever other virtuous word he wants to use. But you calling a spade is grounds for sexual harassment.
So they mix in a lot of things as well to mask what they're really doing. So they say you can't be discriminated against, for being pregnant, but they also say that they're going to expand the definition of sexual harassment. So a woman could end up being accused of sexual harassment against a transgender athlete. And again, when biology is not the deciding factor in what is considered a woman, how can these laws claim to be protecting women and women's rights? You can't possibly be saying that this law protects women when the definition of women can include men.
I read a Washington Post KFF poll last year, and it was on these transgender issues, and it was astounding, Riley. I look at a lot of political issues, and a lot of them are 50-50 or, 40-60. These were astounding. I mean, to the tune of more than 60% saying they do not believe biological men should compete in women's sports. Do you get the sense across the country that people are with you on this issue, regardless of party identification?
Of course I do, which is why, honestly, I was mind blown that he pursued this in an election year, honestly. But the way he did it was pretty strategic. You mentioned leading up to this hit that he has a separate rollout for sports. Basically, what he was doing was winking at normal, sane people saying, hey, we're with you, but also winking at the progressive left saying, hey, we're with you. In doing that, really standing on the fence, we know that this is a way to alienate both sides. So, of course, this is an issue that 95% of common sense, everyday Americans, of course, parents, coaches, medical professionals, female athletes themselves, they see this happening, and this certainly turns them away. This really isn't a battle of red versus blue. Really what this is sane versus insane, really moral versus evil.
Well, Riley Gaines, you have been on the forefront of this issue, fighting for women across the country, people like my daughter, who I hope is in women's sports one day. So thank you very much from a mother. And I know you speak on behalf of a lot of women.
And it does pose the question, do these lawmakers represent us? Do they represent common sense? Clearly not. So on Thursday, several girls stepped out during a meet to protest the inclusion of a transgender girl at the center of this case. The athlete in the case competes for the Bridgeport Middle School girls track and field team in Bridgeport, West Virginia. Bridgeport participated in the 2024 Harrison County Middle School Championships on Thursday afternoon at Liberty High School in Clarksburg, West Virginia. Several members of one of the girls' shot put teams stepped in, then stepped out to protest the inclusion of a transgender athlete in the meet. The transgender athlete competes in both shot put and discus throwing, and a group of them did that in protest to having to compete against a transgender athlete. So they stepped in as if they were going to compete, but instead of competing, they stepped out again. Wow, absolutely wonderful. And the way they did it, the way they protested was very sophisticated. I wasn't expecting that. I thought they were just going to be standing there saying, we're not going to participate. And that would have been great in itself. But no, they went into the ring. Some of them were even doing all the motion as if they were about to throw, and they just walked off. Absolutely brilliant. I really commend these young ladies. That's the way to do it. And it really is an example for all of us, no matter what your age is. That right there is leading the way. These young girls are leaders, and they're at the forefront of saving women's sports. It's worth it, because if we simply go along with this, there's going to be no sports for women to compete in. There's going to be no sports left. And we need to get past this whole transitioning before puberty as well. Don't let that phase you. That doesn't make the person a girl. It doesn't. It doesn't make the person female. They're still in the wrong category. And I think it's absolutely devastating when I hear about kids transitioning, before puberty or whatever, being on puberty blockers. We know more information has come out now that is not the way to go. It's damaging. And these policies encourage parents to transition their children, before they hit puberty. That's absolutely reckless. It really is. These policies are wrong on all levels. They're bad for the female athletes, but they're also bad for the transgender athlete, if you ask me, because it encourages transitioning at an earlier age. And the longer they wait, the better. They can be given support in other ways. So these policies are absolutely reckless, and I don't understand, again, why this is allowed. Why do they think that this is acceptable to do this to children? Let girls compete in sports freely, without hindrance, without having to compete with people who shouldn't be in their category. I thought that's what Title IX was all about, but clearly not. All we've seen there is the wokeification of Title IX, which makes it absolutely useless in protecting women. So according to one of the girls who stepped out, the transgender athlete won the shot put event during the championships. And Riley Gaines said, "It's a sad day when middle school girls have to be the adults in the room. Conceding your event is so much easier said than done. But these girls have the tenacity and the ability to stand their ground. I couldn't be more proud of their bravery and willingness to show their raw emotion. Girls and women have had enough." Absolutely. And she's correct. It is easier said than done. It's not easy to just concede your event like that, which makes what these middle schoolers have done even more impressive. So well done, girls. We need to see more of this, and I really hope it encourages other female athletes. We know it's not easy, and sometimes some women are just going to go along with it. Remember what they do to female athletes who speak out. They suspend them, they intimidate them, they label them. They do things that can affect their job outside of sports. They do things that can affect their safety with all this intimidation and everything. So I understand why some female athletes may go along with it at times. That does happen. Or maybe they're waiting for the right time. Or maybe they're waiting for more women to get on board, for more women to speak out. And we're seeing more and more of that happening. And that's a step in the right direction. So it is discouraging to hear about Title IX. But then I remember what these young girls have done. And that encourages me, and it lets me know that we still have the power to say no. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Take care of yourselves, and God willing, I will see you in the next video.